Politics as usual.
Absolutely. Politics as usual. Today in American politics, Kanye West is the new presidential hopeful.
Oh, we gotta get a hand clap for my guy.
Hey, easy. 2020.
Hand clap for my guy.
Is it real? Is the stunt? Should we believe in Ye's 2020 vision? And what's up with the two-party system anyway? Are there really no other options to choose from, people? But first of all, let's talk about Kanye West for president. What y'all think about Ye 2020?
Easy 2020.
What y'all think about Ye 2020, y'all?
My first opinion was that he's trying to split the votes. You know what I'm saying? That's what I thought.
I've seen that.
But see, and I feel that because why all of a sudden is he coming out saying how he doesn't support Trump anymore?
Word.
And that because you have to run against him, of course. But what other? I mean, he can't think that he's going to win it. So I feel like this is all a ploy between them two. Like it's a smart one because there's people that believe in it. Like there's just people that's itching at the brim to like talk and argue about how Kanye could do better than Trump. So I think they're in cahoots. You know what I'm saying?
You think so? Okay, so
I don't put it past them.
Right.
let's say that's the case, right? What would be the benefit for Kanye West to do that?
The same benefit that he had from supporting him in the first place, just to keep his name. He also has an album about to come out.
Exactly.
Didn't it already come out?
He has two. I know he dropped 2 singles.
Yeah.
Whatever the songs was, but like, so I feel it's too coincidental for me. You got the album, you got the presidential speak. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, now I'm hearing about I just posted earlier about how he's suffering a bipolar attack or something's going on with him. An episode is going on, and so like they concerned about him and all that. So I don't know, man. Like I say, politics it gets confusing to me because they can play these kind of games with the gullible. So I don't know.
Yeah, man. It obviously looks like a stunt from my perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, let's just avoid any of the foolishness. He hasn't even taken the steps, and for some of the things, it's too late. For example, so that we can educate everyone on this kind of political process, he hasn't even filed his paperwork with the Federal Election Commission. Okay?
Did you hear what he said he was going to use as his excuse for that?
What?
The coronavirus. So he was going to use that. I swear, in the interview that they have with him, I swear to you, he said that that's going to be his excuse for not making it in time.
Okay, well, sure, I guess he hasn't built a campaign operation either. All right, and he also, too, in order to file as an independent candidate in several of the big state ballots, the deadline's already passed.
Yes.
Texas, Indiana, New Mexico, North Carolina, and while they are fast approaching in 9 other states, including Florida and New York. July 15th in Florida and July 30th in New York. So, I mean, he's out of the running at all, not to mention because of those upcoming deadlines, he may not even qualify because you have to have I think like 15% of the national vote to even qualify for debates. So I don't even know where we're gonna hear from him other than his social media pages.
This is why I feel like it's a hoax, bro. I feel like that's what it's about. Then his campaign manager is his wife, so
exactly.
Take that with a grain of salt, aka Miss Prison Reform herself. So
you know what though? Shout out to Kim Kardashian though. She has got some folks out of prison. That is a real thing. You know what I'm saying? So you can say what you want. I don't want to get it. I don't watch her content. I don't want to get into that woman's business, and that's that man's wife, so I'm not going to speak on that. But what I will say, anyone that took real tangible steps to get people out of prison who didn't deserve to be there earns my vote of respect just for that action unto itself.
Yeah, she did that, for real.
That's his campaign manager, so that tells you how serious he's taking it.
Yeah, so I don't think that it's serious. I don't think there's really much to even talk about here. I think that in the world of social media, when you have millions of people that follow you, things are going to trend very quickly when you tweet something out. And so, in the same way that I think, to be quite honest, I think that Donald Trump was pulling a stunt until he got in there and figured out that maybe I could do something. And maybe, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but in this situation, at least he started with ample time and he actually put people in place to make something happen. I don't think Mr. West is doing that.
No, he said his running partner is Joel Osteen.
Joel Osteen? No, that's not real.
Okay.
That's what Yeezy said?
Mm-hmm.
That's not real.
But then you see, you got Elon Musk.
Endorsed
I'm right with you.
Listen, bro, it's
my full support.
This is weird stuff, man. I don't even know. Like
2020 is the year for it. I'm just waiting on the aliens.
Just wait.
Boy.
That's all I'm waiting on. Come on already.
Save that for December. You think it's Santa Claus.
There are some that say Elon Musk is an alien.
Probably.
Have you heard those conspiracy theories?
That man out here killing every which way. I wouldn't be surprised.
You know, bro. So maybe Elon is giving Kanye some alien gems that we don't know about.
It's a Kanye clone.
Yeah,
Kanye clone.
The white version. Oh my gosh. Well, I think for me, gentlemen, though, this kind of leads us to what we see. The reason why Kanye West is even talked about is because everyone, I think, can agree that for the most part, we're not satisfied with the two individuals that we have as options.
Yeah.
And it's not just in this election cycle. It's been like that for several election cycles where we continue to go down this lesser of two evil paths where we have to pick this one or that one. It's like I feel like I'm in an old Black Sheep record, like just on repeat over and over. You can get with this or you can get with that. And my problem is that in America, why is it this way in the first place? Why do we only have two parties? Why don't we have more options? This two-party system, to me, is rigged to keep us polarized and to keep the power within two groups of individuals. And I think that we have to raise this question of perhaps the problem that we're seeing over and over again is that this system is no longer working. So why don't we think of ways to change it? So that's kind of my thought. I wanted to kind of get y'all's thoughts about that too, and just kind of discuss, like, are there other options and what those options are?
I mean, you can always be an independent, but I don't really know. I don't know how that lines up when it's time for the voting to go down, because we never really even hear about them. They don't make a dent in the election at all, which is why for certain, Black people in general, if you don't know a lot about politics, I know for me growing up, I only thought it was two parties because I would only see those two candidates when it was time. I really didn't even know back in the day that you could vote for your local officials. Like, it took me a while to even realize that. So I don't know. I don't know what's the use of it. Like, what difference would it make if they have it all set up the way they want it to go anyway? So
pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's how I feel. It's all set up a certain way. I don't want to be the conspiracy guy in here, but I just feel like they're going to put who they want in. It's all a sham or something like that.
No, but it is, though. I mean, America is not a real democracy.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not. It's a faux democracy. The U.S. political system is set up for two major parties. That's it. Because it's awarding seats to Congress and the presidency with a winner-take-all. That's what the Electoral College is about. So they don't want any more parties than that. There's a quote that from, people are going to be upset when I say this, but I obviously, since I don't have any dog in the fight, I am a spectator looking into the American political party system. Neutral. And I pull quotes from all kinds of people. But I read this, that from a French socialist, Maurice Duverger, theorized in the 1950s that this kind of setup leads to what is effectively a two-party system. Duverger's law states that the third parties can't compete because there is no prize for winning. For example, 15 or even 25% of the vote. This leads voters to choose candidates who are most likely to win, and it leads the parties to try to broaden their appeal to half of the electorate. Right? So it's not even set up for the Libertarian or Independent or the Green Party or the Constitution Party. Those are all parties in America, but unless they win a certain amount of electorates, they don't. It's like all or nothing. Right? If we had multiple parties, think about how this would work, right? So we are forced to kind of choose one or the other. And you have to put all of these things on a broad platform we don't agree on. For example, in America, Donald Trump and the voters that like him, really, they're not Republicans. They're really American nationalists. Republicans are like Mark Cuban. Okay? Republicans tend to be fiscally conservative. They're sensible. They're morally conservative, right? They're not radical in nature, and they're not bombastic to ideological beliefs. That's a nationalist position. Okay, so in America, we should have an American National Party. We should have a Republican Party. We should have a Democrat Party. We should have a Black Panther Party. We should have a Libertarian Party. And based off where you live, you should be able to put a party candidate that represents your people and then put them before the House and the Senate. Well, as it is now, you have this 50-50 back and forth, right? But let's say the Senate or the House was broken up into multiple parties. Let's say if it was even, 1/4, 1/6, or 1/8, it would force parties to actually have to do real collaboration because they wouldn't be able to hold the power structure. Okay. So America doesn't actually want us to be a democracy. It wants to have the sense of a democracy and the appearance of a democracy without actually having real democratic foundation in place. So, for example, even like in France, when they have an election, like a Macron, he had a party, but there were multiple parties that are bidding for the national election, and they have many different representatives within their parliament.
Right.
We don't have any of that.
Nope.
I don't even know if there's even an independent candidate or a libertarian in the House or Senate. I think Rand Paul is the only one. He's really Republican, but he ran as an independent within his state, so that because he wanted to steal more of the votes in that state. So to me, this is the problem, man. We have a fake system that pushes us to vote for one candidate or the other, and we really, really don't want a true democratic process. Sean ain't got no thoughts about that.
Nah, bro, listen, you touched on so much. Like, I feel like any other salt I add is just gonna make the dish bad.
Speak on it. Speak on it. I mean,
you touched on every issue that I had.
Your name is Loudmouth for a reason.
Right. But I like I told you from the first episode that we shot, like my belief in politics is about as slim as the sheet of paper that they wrote the Constitution on. So I trust it as far as I could throw it. I like to learn as much as I can, and so I definitely come here for a lot of that because you have a lot of the knowledge on certain shit that I wouldn't get it nowhere else. But I think you touched on all of it. I don't see why we don't have more parties and more options. Because even right now, that's the biggest argument that I see on social media or just in conversations about politics. Is I don't want to vote for either one of them. And it's just like, well, damn, I wish it was somebody else. But then you get this weirdo coming along like, hey, I want to run as part of I'm running as the birthday party. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, so I'm done. So I wish it was more options, man. But we'll see how that goes in the future. I don't know. How do you change that though? Yeah,
well, there has to be a change in the Electoral College. Like, we have to allow parties to actually have a viable chance to win, states.
I did see there was a change with the Electoral Party where they have to vote for what was it? They can't vote for a candidate that's outside of their party for whichever one that was.
Well, yeah, they make you run down ticket. Like, even when you go to vote, they almost force you to go across party line to run Republican down a ticket, or else you have to go through each one. So you have to kind of have a knowledge of your local, and regional elected or potential elected officials to be able to. Most people just say, okay, I'm going to go straight ticket, right? And what it forces you to again. So for example, like, what if you have a person who votes more Democratic, who may be more liberal with certain things, but they don't believe in abortion?
Right.
Well, there's nowhere for them to go. If I say in the Democratic Party that I don't believe in abortion, then Democrats are saying you're a hypocrite. You don't believe in our party platform. It's like, well, wait a minute. Like, no, okay, so because I don't agree with this principle, you're throwing away everything else that I agree with. Right. Or if I'm a Republican who believes that marijuana should be legalized, okay, or black people's lives are significant, but yet I agree with Republicans on all these economic principles, then now I'm a traitor to your party. Well, perhaps maybe there needs to be multiple parties so that people that are more liberal, maybe with their worldview as it relates to social issues, and more conservative, they're fiscally, they should have a party that represents them. Okay, so now what happens is that you don't have such a broad appeal, and you can winnow it down to like, this is what we believe. These are our perspectives, and then we go out and we get people that believe like we do, and then we say, okay, this is our representative for our community. And so I think that that's what helps. And to go back to people of old and within the black community, the Black Panther Party, okay, tried very much to do this. And as you know, I'm very much passionate about our people and empowering our people. Even though when on social I was getting killed for the why black people shouldn't vote for Democrats. Maybe I should have asked the question: should black people vote for Democrats? And people wouldn't have got so in their feelings.
It was just the title, like we said.
Exactly. And the point of it is to say, let's challenge ourselves to think. But I want to go back to Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale and see what they had to say about why they put together the Black Panther Party. But more importantly, I want to read if you're familiar with these, their main precepts, essentially, their 10-point platform that the Black Panther Party ran on, I think that this speaks to us today for what we need as black people. And this is the reason why we don't find any representation, because nobody is speaking to these things. But they had a 10-point platform. We want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our black community. We want full employment for our people. We want an end to the robbery, by white men from our black community. They later changed it to be nicer. They said, we want an end to the robbery by the capitalists of our black and oppressed communities. We want decent housing fit for shelter of human beings. We want education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. Whoa. Right. We want education that teaches us to our true history and our role in the present day society. We want all black men to be exempt from military service. We want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people. We want freedom for all black men held in federal, state, county, and city prisons and jails.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, man. We want all black people, when brought to trial, to be tried in court by a jury of their peer group of people from their black communities as defined by the Constitution of the United States. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, and peace.
Yes, sir.
Lofty goals. But he was speaking towards it. So.
10-point platform for the Black Panther Party. But you see what happens, though, when you have a 10-point plan. You're able to say, okay, this is what we believe. We're going to rock with this. Yeah. And we're going to put up representatives in the communities where our interests are taken care of and are going to be listened to. And so the Black Panther Party through California had even gone down into L.A. There were Black Panther Party chapters in L.A. until the federal government decided to infiltrate and pump heroin into the Black Panther Party. And, obviously, and then later Huey P. died in Oakland under certain interesting circumstances. But Bobby Steele is still alive today, and he speaks about these issues. But I kind of wanted to read that because I wanted us to, again, to frame our reference around what should we as black people be thinking about politics. And oftentimes, the Democratic Party does not represent the 10-point platform of the Black Panther Party. And we should all be able to agree that Huey P. had our best interest in mind.
Definitely.
Okay?
Yes,
so if I say I don't like the Democratic Party, it's not saying that I like Republicans. It's saying that I like Huey P.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
You see what I'm saying?
There's an alternative.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, what are y'all thoughts about the Black Panther Party, man? I mean, do you think that this kind of a party could exist in 2020? That something similar to this could exist?
I have my doubts.
It'll get a strong following, but will it last?
I think that when it comes to the type of activism and the type of involvement in the communities, I think that there's individuals that could spark that. But I feel like if it gets to a point where they're making too much noise out here, or they get shit really shaken, then it's gonna happen the same way it did in the past. Like they have a way of breaking shit down here in America. So if it's not within their plan, however many point plan they have here, then it's not gonna make it. I think that there's a way to do it, but it can't be as militant. They're not going to allow us to be as militant as they was. Like,
so we can't be like the
they want
NFAC?
they want nice niggas. Them niggas, that was cool for a day.
Yeah.
But give them about a week or two of that, or making this your permanent occupation. This is what you do every day. Those are the type of individuals who we don't see as much of anymore. People who dedicate their entire lives to that. Movement, so I mean, it's still people that start up little chapters of it that I see, but I mean, they all kind of
there's no power.
Yeah, and that's the problem with it.
Yeah.
Forgive me for lack of knowledge on politics, but isn't it like a money game too?
Yeah.
So like, wouldn't they be able to keep up financially with the Democrats and Republicans?
Yeah. I mean, well, see, that's where the local, elections come into play, right? Because let's say, for example, let's just use Caution City, home city as an example of Compton, California. Let's say you had a new Black Panther Party or a new movement party, whatever you want to name it, right? And it began to gain momentum and prominence within that community, and the people gave their votes to that candidate. Well, then they would now elect that candidate to that party, and he would be elected official within that community. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So then he would work with business leaders, he would work with schools, school leaders, what's the word, what I'm looking for in my, not principals, but the, goodness grief, Superintendent, bam.
He was sitting waiting on that one.
Absolutely, the superintendent. You see, teamwork makes the dream work.
Was you just waiting on that, Jim?
I was waiting. I was like, they running through a lot of us. We gotta get this.
Like principal, chancellor, superintendent.
Senator, there you go.
Ding, 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 ding.
Hall monitor.
Yeah, hall monitor. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Appreciate that.
The superintendent, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but that elected official works with all those people within those prominent positions to help the community because he's the community representative.
Yeah.
So that's how it would have to happen at the local level. And if you get enough of those individuals in local black communities, then you could make some movement. And yes, you would actually need to have a economic power base,
the capital behind you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, you're 100% right. You know, but the reason why I wanted to bring attention to these things, you know, it seems that in America it has now become a crime to simply question the current system.
Right.
Whether you are critiquing Democrats or critiquing Republicans, it doesn't seem to be acceptable to challenge the two-party system in any way.
Yeah.
You are either for it or you're against it. But what happened to critical thinking? What happened to challenging the status quo? Is it wrong to consider other options than what CNN and Fox News feed us? If I'm black and I don't like Democrats, does that mean that I love Republicans? Can I not have an equal disdain for both? When we as a society lose the ability to question those in power and we dare not consider the possibility of building something new, then we have lost the ability to think freely. And we become pawns in the political chess match of those we entrust to govern us. I'll end with a quote from the late Huey P. Newton that says, "I dissuade party members," he's talking about the Black Party, Panther Party members, "from putting down people who do not understand. Even people who are unenlightened and seemingly bourgeois should be answered in a polite way. Things should be explained to them as fully as possible. I was turned off by a person who did not want to talk to me because I was not important enough. Maurice just wanted to preach to the converted who already agreed with him. I try to be cordial because that way you win people over. You cannot win them over by drawing the line of demarcation, saying you are on this side and I am on the other. That shows a lack of consciousness." Huey P. Newton.
Speak on it.
I'm like hearing that brother speak on it.
Yes, sir.
And I think it does speak to like I talked about last week, like a lack of knowledge about the entire process and what goes into it, and really looking at the things that matter. A lot of times we worry about like I said, the presidential race and this party, that party, but you can make a difference in your community by looking at your local candidates, who runs your city, the things that directly affect you. You know, your school districts, look into who's handling your children, those type of things. So I think that's major. Get the information, process it in a way that it works and you get an understanding of it. Help out those that may be lacking the knowledge. We can only help each other regardless of who you are. So I definitely feel that was real powerful. So shout out to him for that.
Yes, sir.
So to lighten the mood a little bit, you know, we always got to transition into the light because we always get that wasn't as heavy as we normally are. So we gave y'all a breather. We talked about something kind of like, you know what I'm saying, so y'all don't get your panties in a bunch. We had a rough week. You know what I'm saying? We started to come here on some
or
other
boxers.
Shit.
We don't want to upset anyone who thinks we're being sexist.
There you go.
There you go.
Panties or boxers.
Okay.
Great
Just
one.
keep them on. Whatever one you got on.
Don't matter.
Keep
Just
them
keep them going.
So we can get into the art and life section.